feeding off that.
Let's have a look again at the triple mix and how it all plays out. So everyone's got it straight in their minds. We've done swim, bike, run. That's the stage 1 mass start we just had. 10 minutes break. We're nearly at the end of that now. We head into stage 2, run, bike, swim. Another 10-minute break. And then a bike, swim, run to finish. Anyone who falls more than 90 seconds back through transition is gone. And the first athlete across the line at the end of stage 3 wins. Now, stage 3 is a pursuit-style start. So every second you lose to the leaders in stage 1 and 2, you pay for at the start of stage 3. And that is an absolute heartbreaker as you watch your rivals disappear into the distance up that hill there. It can be a very long few seconds for you. But this one, we can see everyone starting with a mass start again. Jonas Schomburg to your left, Ben Canute, the American, number 75. Johnny Brownlee in red in the middle. Hayden Wild, number 53.
I don't know how this is, if this is officially decided, or the guys who led the next stage are allowed to go to the front.
They're allowed at the front.
Yeah.
Is that official, or is it just etiquette between them? I don't know.
Little from column A, little from column B.
Yeah. You just sort of muscle your way up there.
It's official, but you also have to make sure you're in the right spot at the right time.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the most important runs of Vincent Louis' race today. He really has to do something now. He's lost 30 seconds. And
Tyler Mislachuk is racing in a beanie. I just want to point that out. The man in the beanie is not a streaker. It is Tyler Mislachuk, who is one of our smaller athletes and gets very cold very easily. And I don't think I've ever seen that before.
No, not unless it's a -3 degrees cross-country race. But it's definitely not that. Schomburg straight to the front there. He loves taking it on. Vincent Louis, you wonder if he'd want to take this on. You know, he's got a chance here to just get a cheeky 5-10 seconds off the front on this run, take that through onto the bike and hold on the swim. You would have thought that's his best chance of getting back on par with Henry, but it doesn't look like he's going to do that here. So,
well, he started in the second row, I suppose. He started at the back of the pack.
And he's gone backwards,
He's gone backwards.
Yeah.
There he is at about 6th last at the moment, and now he's got a lot of traffic between him and Jonas Schomburg at the front, with Hayden Wild sitting in behind. From Schoeman, Johnny Brownlee's there, Igor Polyansky, Martin Van Riel. On the right of your screen, Leo Bergeret, and behind him, Richard Murray. So plenty of talent across the front and plenty of talent in between.
Murray similarly,
front.
He hasn't decided to take it on. He's another one who you think on this kind of run going onto the bike, you know, if he can stretch it out, tire people out, get a bit of time going onto that bike, that would be a big chance for him to get some time, but he's decided not to. And going around that dead turn at the top there, you saw them really line out, and the guys at the back, which is Ollie Turner, lose more time than they have to, and that's tough for them. Schomburg is often at the front in this kind of racing. You know, he really pushes it on. Not sure he's the most conservative of pacers out there in triathlon, but yeah, he seems to, maybe he's listened to me, he's slowed down now, and he's moved back through the pack, and Hayden Wild taking it on.
Murray's moved up on the left-hand side, starting to slide his way up into 4th position, and they've really got to move through. Maybe they've paced themselves that first lap. It's a 2K run. It's a very, very hilly 2K run, so it's all about who gets across that dismount line first to win that short shoot. So it's like a sprint. And, like you said, I think both Murray and Vincent Louis have to look at getting that advantage if they want to keep themselves in this race.
Yeah, that's Johnny at the front there with Mislachuk on his shoulder. It looks more like the kind of vying for positions here. You know, we can see Tommy Zafiris isn't too far off the back there. Matt Sharp on the back of this group that's moving away. So it doesn't look like the pace is mega on, you know, they're not stretched out in one line. It just looks like they're vying, you know, more like a 1500 metre race where you're more worried about getting someone's elbow in your face or an ankle to trip you up. And it's not actually a great place to be. It's not much fun being in this situation. You know, it's better when it's fast and lined out, to be honest. So there's a lot of people who, it might be not physically uncomfortable because they're going really hard, but they just feel a bit uncomfortable running in this kind of group here.
Like a 1500, they're going to start to line it up now. If you want to get that short shoot, you're going to come up the climb here.
Well, and Henry Schoeman, who mentioned exactly that and just how much of an advantage it is, has elbowed his way into the front there ahead of Hayden Wild, and maybe they've just seen as they stood alongside our commentary box here and watched all the carnage in the women's just how hard it is in stage 3. As João Pereira attempts to move his way up on the outside, number 99, Mislachuk hanging off the shoulder of Henry Schoeman. But Vince Louis has made his way and picked his way through the pack. He'll turn at the top of Churchill in 4th position, so he doesn't want to let Schoeman out of his sights on this one.
No, I mean, and he
He's
shouldn't
gonna
do
go for it.
either.
Yeah,
he
I
really
think he's
shouldn't.
going to go for it. I think he knows he needs it. He's tactically very, very clever. He's moved that when he's had to
there's
downhill
going.
again.
He's going. Use the downhill again, like we saw him using Malta quite a bit. And we see Johnny, like I said before, not being very aggressive on the downhill, and he should be really using this downhill to advantage. Vincent's going for this here. I think he's just pushing it a bit to make sure he gets that short shoot. I think if he knows he gets out and he can use that on the bike, and Henry's
gone straight.
Yeah, and Hayden Wild as well. Yeah, so. Maybe he's not going. Looks like Henry's going for another one.
A little bit of tit for tat going on. You can see Oliver turn to the right of your screen. Oliver
full on sprint for the short shoot. This is good. Yeah. Of course he has. What's he saying?
He's got the kick. He's got the confidence in the kick, and he'll get the short shoot now. And the thing that he needs to do next is to make it count and take back some of that time he lost with that mechanical from the opening stage. And here he is, picking his way through the running athletes. But Hayden Wild is the man who'll lead out of transition. Schoeman and Louis together ahead of Richard Murray, Jonathan Brownlee, Martin Van Riel, Tyler Mislachuk. Leo Bergeret's gone backwards a little bit from Igor Polyansky and Tommy Zafiris.
Yeah, so Hayden Wild's taking it on hard up this first hill, isn't he? You can see he's pushing it as hard as he can. Vincent Louis is right on his wheel, and really close. Is he? He can use his short shoot now if he wants to.
Yeah. Well, I think he can only use it now.
Oh, can he?
Has to move it on the first lap.
Yeah,
okay,
so use it now, and he will do so, which will be a bit of a mental blow for Hayden Wild, a two-time Xterra age group world champion, and he knows how to take the hills. But Vince Louis is going to slip his way in
Richard Murray's made himself, worked his way back up into the pack in a great position. I think he's just good at kind of conserving and judging his effort. He tends to. You might look like he's not in the right position, but then he kind of pops up in the right position on the whole. He's done a good job there. Vincent, instead of being aggressive there, he's decided not. He kind of sat up, do my shoes, maybe just conserve the energy just that little bit.
That might just show how much energy he spent in the opening stage trying to get back to contention. But now it's time for him to push up the Church Hill for the first time on the bike, with Richard Murray in second position, who's taken Hayden Wild, and they stretch out up this hill as he's up in the saddle. Vince Louis, we know how strong he can be and how good his bike handling skills are, and bike handling comes into play by...
Yeah, it's pretty much all back together here. To be honest, Murray's a crafty racer. We don't often see him on the front of groups like this, but he's obviously recognised the threat and thought, I need to close that down. So he is on the front of the group and he has closed it down. And the guys behind him, we see a group there with Schoeman just behind him. Wild was in there, Van Riel and Johnny at the back. So a pretty strong group of cyclists in there as well to bring him back. And it's just kind of behind those guys. There's a few more guys on the back, and it's kind of splintering all over.
Well, I think Richard will be a little bit disappointed with his stage one, and he's given himself a lot of work to do in this stage. So he has to do something, and I think by having Vincent up the road, he can target him. As you said, he likes to sit back and time his move, but he really doesn't have that luxury.
Yeah, that's Ben Canute and Michel Schuck on the back of that group there. So those guys are again keeping themselves in contention and doing a good job of it.
Hayden Wild closing
straight back up. Hayden Wild is riding that hill aggressively. But it doesn't look like they've gone up there really quick, because the whole group's kind of bunched back together, with Canute managing to go from almost last place to right in there. So it just shows that the pace kind of eased up just a little bit to allow these guys back into contact.
And sitting at the back of that pack is Henry Schoeman, who knows that he's got a nice little buffer over the other members of the pack around him, including Vince Louis was 22 seconds, but still 13 seconds ahead of Johnny Brownlee, who's there as well. So he needs to conserve as much as possible, knowing that the swim's coming up next, and he is the best in the water. That's why he's wearing the blue jersey, but he's sitting right now behind the man who's 13 seconds overall behind him, Brownlee. And Wild again attacking up these hills. We know how good he is on a hilly course. He was so happy, Hayden Wild, when he saw the state of this course, which is in contrast to a lot of the other athletes out there. And at the moment, he's leading the way from Vince Louis, Richard Murray, Ben Canute, who's powered all day, and Martin Van Riel, who joins us in Super League for the very first time. So they bomb down Church Hill once again.
Yeah, Van Riel's in a bit of a better position on this one than he was on the first one. Looks a bit more comfortable. You're not seeing him go around that corner really grinding the gear up. He just seems to be riding a bit better. So maybe he's feeling a bit better. That said, there's not a big draft advantage on this course, apart from this bit they're going on now, where it's the fast straight bit going onto the hill, and that's why we're seeing them bunch together every time, because you're hitting it with speed. The guys 4th, 5th, 6th are getting a good draft advantage, saving a bit of energy and then kicking up the hill. But apart from that, there's no advantage, and that's why we're seeing little gaps. Guys that corner a bit faster than others, getting gaps, and guys who are a bit more cautious are losing room. And you don't want to let that meter that goes to 2 meters open up in front of you either. Oh no!
Oh no! Another mechanical issue. This time for Ollie Turner, who was already a minute 35 back, and he's about to get a little bit of assistance if he can't get the chain on. Looks like he has done that. Might get a push instead. No, he won't do that. But Ollie Turner, he's way off the back anyway, but still a tough break for Oliver Turner as we head back to the top of the hill. That just shows you how far back he is.
So you bunch together again. This neutralises almost every time on the hill, and it is that kind of the spring effect where they kind of spring together up the hill. Even though it is the hardest, toughest part of the course, going into it is fast, and it just allows it to bunch together. No one's been really aggressive off the top yet. The way to kind of combat that, if you want, is wait for it to bunch halfway up, attack, and be aggressive round the top and down the descent. We haven't seen anyone try that tactic yet.
Vincent seems to be looking at taking that short shoot. I don't know if you saw it on that last lap, but it was that gap opened because I think Johnny had a little bit of a problem with Martin Van Riel. He clipped his wheel on this top turn up here. It's very, very tight, and he had to sort of go a little bit wider. The gap opened as they were descending, and he had to do a lot of work to get back on before the base of that climb.
But I guess he's on now, and maybe he's in a good position. Maybe that's because he's riding my bike. He's actually...
That is true, actually. Johnny's bike did not arrive from the UK, so he's jumped on his brother's bike, which is a size up. That's right, isn't it? Is it a size up?
And obviously faster.
And obviously faster. Okay.
There it is.
There it is. It started. It's begun. At least we got halfway through stage 2 before the barb started to be slung. Vince Louis, though, looking for the short shoot once again.
And this is an important short shoot. Between him and Henry, they're pretty much very difficult to break in the water, so this extra advantage, if he takes it, will be big.
One more time through as they push. Louis trying to control off the front.
Henry keeps going into the tri-bars on this really short section, 200 or 300 metres long. I mean, I really don't think it's worth it, and especially in these kind of tight groups, because one thing happens in front of you. Someone clips wheels, someone switches the course, someone comes out in front of you. You haven't got the control, you haven't got the brakes, you can't turn your bike. I don't think that's a good tactic at all, and the aerodynamic advantage you get is basically the same as being on your drops and staying low and ducking your head down. So I think that's a bit risky. I think it'd probably be sensible not to do that. Vincent Louis staying near the front, whether he's because he wants that short shoot or because he wants to be in the front, who knows. There's a couple of guys just distancing off.
I love watching Ben Canute muscle that bike up the hill. He looks like he's in pain. He never gets really up out of the saddle. He just pushes and pushes and pushes, and he's been dropped along with I'm not sure who's with him. Is it Tyler Mischuk as well?
Yeah. It's the 7th time up that climb, and it really starts to pinch now. When they started to make that move, especially Vincent Louis, and they really pushed that climb a little bit, those two guys distanced themselves.
Yeah, they're kind of back on though. They got the advantage of the downhill, and you get a bigger draft on the downhill, that just allowing them to pull them back in there. But Ben Canute is just riding as hard as he can here to stay in contact, and really, really great to see. He's a good swimmer, so if he can stay in contact here, he's probably in good contact for the rest of the race. But he looks like he's going hard, and the last thing you want to do is dive into the water with a body full of lactate.
Yeah, you get dropped for a reason, right? Your legs aren't with you, so
out comes the flag. Out comes the flag for Oliver Turner, who had a deficit to make up, and then he had a mechanical, and that's his day over. And here comes the race for the short shoot, and Vince Louis positioned himself. Last time we saw it was Schumann ahead, but Vince Louis found a way through, and it looks like he will get the short shoot.
Yeah, and he's making sure he's got it as well. This is just really great, clever racing from Vincent, isn't it? He knows he needs every advantage he can, and he's racing to get it.
That was a good transition from Vincent too.
It was. He has to work his way through Johnny Brownlee there, which is going to cost him a little bit, and Henry Schumann will come out right behind him, but have a little bit further to swim as Hayden Wild brings up this chasing pack with Ben Canute another 2 seconds behind. But at the front, it's your championship leader, then your swim leader, then your run leader. Vince Louis, Henry Schumann and Johnny Brownlee, Martin Van Riel.
So we've got the 2 strong swimmers at the front here, so everyone is scrambling to make sure.
Henry Schumann.
Henry's missed the turn, and that's going to hurt him.
So they're scrambling to stay in contact when they can, and that's really, really important. And Richard Murray, we talk a lot about the swim being the weak point of his, so he's trying to get in front of as many people as he possibly can. They're all running as far up the beach as they can, so that they're maximising the running time rather than the swim time. You tend to run faster than you swim, so the more distance you can run on the sand, the better. And Schumann's got back in front of Johnny, and he's going to swim straight up to Vincent Louis' feet, no doubt about it there.
And he can stay there. And I'd be surprised if he tries to take this stage or overtake Vince Louis, because he knows he's got 22 seconds and he can conserve a little bit more energy. And
he doesn't need to. So these guys behind, look, they've gone in the water a lot earlier.
Yeah, they have.
Their actual kind of distance in total is going to be less, but they're going to have to swim a further distance. So, whether they've actually thought about that or they've just seen these guys in front of them and go, I need to get in there and get after them, and not thought about it, who knows. But yeah, I don't know. You've actually got to run a bit further, and there's probably not a lot in it, to be honest, in terms of the time advantage. But we can see that's a fantastic aerial shot there of the very different tactics that these two groups of athletes are taking. So we've got the three guys. Vincent still leading, Henry in second, Johnny in third. We haven't panned back far enough to see who's in fourth yet, but I think it's probably one of Wild or Murray. And I think Murray's a little bit further back.
Here's Murray at the back, second from the back of that group of five.
Yeah, and it looks like it's splitting a bit up from behind whoever's in fourth there. So I don't know whether it's Van Riel in fourth or whether one of the guys or Berger or even Knut managed to get round and up. But I think Michel Schuck was the one. He looked like he was a bit off the back. He had a slow transition. So I don't think it'll be him. But he's a good swimmer. He might have made some time on his way up. Haven't seen as much as him as we did last week.
I think Leo Berger has actually dropped off the back of that pack.
That's Murray going. Murray's at the back and going backwards. I don't know who's that. Is that Ben Knut moving around?
Yeah, Ben Knut could be trying to move around him to move up. But we said, you really don't want to be in a position where you're swimming tired already in lactate, and I think that's what's happening here. Vincent is swimming as fast as he pretty much can. You can see Johnny with a really high turnover there, so he's going to having to go hard to keep himself in contact. So that probably means the pace is on, and we'll see who is in fourth place there. I think as soon as they come out, yellow.
Van Riel, I think.
Van Riel, yellow on both arms. He hasn't got the flag,
Yeah, he's really starting to hit his stride. Maybe the pace was a bit of a shock to him early doors, and he started to work his way into it. And there is Vince Louis coming out, and a little bit of a second trip there from Johnny Brownlee. He loses maybe a second to the two in front of him, and Henry Schoeman's just sat there as they head back into the water once again. And
he's going
now he makes the decision to go for it, and maybe that's more of a mental thing, if you like, after Vince Louis kicked away from him. He just needs to know that he can compete with him.
But look at the gap
them
behind. The gap, this gap, all of a sudden, that could be 10 seconds there. That's almost come from nowhere of these guys diving in the water. So I think Van Riel's racing well here. He's a good, solid swimmer, but not a spectacular swimmer, especially not on the level of these guys in front of him. But he needs to do everything he can to stay in contact here. And Vincent Louis needs to get off Henry's hips and let Henry swim. I think Vincent here isn't racing Henry necessarily. He needs to think, actually, I need to get all the time on the other guys behind me and around. I'm not going to lose any time on Henry here by staying on his feet and letting him push the pace. But I need every second I can on the guys around, because that means it's going to neutralise them going into the final stage. And even if then Henry's still got the lead, to be honest, just having the least number of people between him and Henry is really advantageous, because getting around people on the bike course is tough.
It's very easy to sit up here and decide what should be done in the context of the championship. But
that's the point, isn't it?
Vince Louis, though, he's the kind of guy that wants to drill home to Henry Schoeman that he can beat him in every stage, and he's trying to do that, get inside his head somewhat, and I think that's the same reason why Henry Schoeman's out there going, I'm going to win this stage over Vince.
Yeah, true. Henry doesn't need to win this either, so Henry could just be sat there thinking, well, I've got my 20 seconds, I can sit here comfortably and get through this stage using less energy while Vince knackers himself up a bit.
It could be a big statement by Henry. We've seen him be on the receiving end of punishment from Vincent, both in Jersey and Malta, and it'd be nice to make a real statement, to clean sweep this whole triple mix here.
I think they are pushing it hard.
Yeah, they look like they are.
It's
the rivalry, mate. That's what Super League is all about. It's the rivalry. Fantastic. They don't need to win it, but they're going to win it.
This little run up here. I mean, this run could be crucial. I mean, you saw Johnny again lose a second getting out of the water, and Henry again go wrong.
Henry's just gone a little bit wrong there.
Yeah, I mean, this someone could take advantage of this. Just get to the end before the others and get themselves up.
And here comes Johnny.
Yeah,
and Hayden Wild as well. So
no, that's Martin Van Riel.
Oh, sorry, Van Riel. Sorry, my apologies.
Yeah, there's a full-on Van Riel's gone for it.
He knows he does need time.
They had to go up the other steps, the stairs they came down with the swim finish, so they got a little bit confused there, and it's cost Vincent Louis. And Martin Van Riel's going to win this.
Yeah, Martin Van Riel's winning.
Van Riel from Brownlee, just as we talk about it. And Vince Louis wants to beat Henry Schoeman to the line. Is he going to do that? Well, they've all just kind of pulled up in the end. But Martin Van Riel is your stage 2 winner of the triple mix ahead of Brownlee.
Big gaps back to, this is Ben Canute,
Yeah, there really
coming
is.
here. And so he swam through. Where is Richard? Yeah, Wild, he's lost a bit more time.
Yeah,
and
comes Murray
Murray's
now.
all the way back here. That's
With Mislachuk.
I think that's another 20 seconds down for Murray. So he's going to start this final stage 40-odd seconds down.
And we will update you on all the time splits required and what they're going to pay for in stage 3 of the triple mix, as
Tommy
good
Zafiris.
finish there from Zafiris, who we know is a fantastic swimmer, and he finishes ahead of Igor Polyansky, another renowned swimmer from Russia. And Matt Sharp is there along with João Pereira, but these times are starting to add up, and we might see quite the collection of athletes, and such good athletes they are, not start stage 3 as Martin Van Riel already begins his preparations for the final stage of racing. There he is getting warm. That's the first priority, is to stay warm. We saw athletes hurt a little bit in the women's, just cooling down and having to heat back up again.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this a lot over the last few stages, that this recovery period is absolutely crucial. What can you do here to recover between the stages? And I spoke too soon about Martin Van Riel. I kind of thought, he'd do better, and he wasn't kind of hitting it off in that first stage, but he was great in that second stage, the right place all the way through. So he might have struggled on the swim there, but kept himself in a perfect position, and he had the gas to get up and round him in the last bit. So yeah, that was a really good bit of racing. It was probably the Martin Van Riel I expected to see out of Super League, because I do think he really kind of suits this format of racing, to be honest.
Van Riel, as he wanders around in his dressing gown on the streets of Porto Cristo, let's look back at how it all played out in stage 2, and our contenders were at the front early on. Henry Schoeman in the blue, Vince Louis moved up in the pink. Hayden Wild is enjoying these hills of Porto Cristo as well, and there was no holding back from Henry Schoeman down the hills this time, as there was and cost him a little bit in Malta. So our 2 championship contenders led from the front early. Hayden Wild was in the mix there or thereabouts all the way through this one, as was Richard Murray until the end. I think the pace caught up to him a little bit late on, and finishing on a swim is never great for Richard Murray. But Vincent Louis was the first man to get the short chute, and he made it. Well, he maybe didn't make it work for him as much as Henry Schoeman did. And they came up to the hill once again. Hayden Wild again taking the lead, and when they came to the swim, Henry Schoeman and Vince Louis, but both of them went. In fact, what happened was Vince Louis took the short chute and Henry followed him in before being corrected and coming back.
Return, yeah.
And that cost him a little bit, but he still managed to get on Vince Louis' feet. And when they both came out of the water once again, it was just the 2 of them with Brownlee and Van Riel behind. And then when they came out of the water, again, a little error. But despite the fact that neither of these 2 guys really needed to put all the effort into it, they both did, and there was some confusion here as they ran up and then were turned down to the other end. And Martin Van Riel, upon entry into Super League, pounced and won himself a stage and $1,000 for his troubles. The 4 of them, quite the gap back to the chasing pack, led by Ben Canute. Let's have a look at the results as they stand officially. Martin Van Riel in an 18:20. Jonathan Brownlee and Henry Schoeman finishing 2 seconds back. Vince Louis 3 seconds, and then a big gap of 12 seconds back to Ben Canute. 2 more to Hayden Wild, 4 more to Tyler Mislachuk, and Richard Murray has a further 21-second deficit added to his time for stage 3 pursuit from Tommy Zafiris. We go down to Jonas Schomburg, who will be eliminated, and we'll head down now to